To a Reaction Monday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Today is Juneteenth, June 19th, and a now national and local holiday. The city in which we are bringing you, or from which we are bringing you this, was the first city in the state of Tennessee to make Juneteenth a holiday, so my bank is closed.
But the ATM is always open. You know, a lot of people got today off, Chris.
I know. We did not.
I
don't know what's up with that, but
Yeah.
we have plenty of sports to react to, so maybe we don't need to take today off particularly.
Speak for yourself. It's a federal holiday in the United States commemorating the emancipation of enslaved African Americans, deriving its name from combining June and 19th. It is celebrated on the anniversary of the order by Major General Gordon Granger, as in Fort Granger in Franklin, proclaiming freedom for enslaved people in Texas on June 19th, 1865. Didn't expect to learn anything on here, did you?
I went to the local Juneteenth celebration this weekend. We'll have Mornings on Main Street tomorrow with Stephanie Miller. We'll have a special report from the Columbia Juneteenth celebration, so make sure to check her out at 8. Is it 8 o'clock, Justin? It's 8 o'clock, right?
Correct.
8 in the morning.
8 in the morning.
Or on demand, whenever you
like.
wake up.
Which may be a little later than 8 in the morning, and thus a little bit more convenient to your sleep schedule.
Yeah. Just whenever you guys are good. So we'll definitely have some on demand viewers of that, because I'm not ready to do life at that point. So.
Yeah.
Some of you, maybe. I am not.
And hats off to you.
Yeah. It's not easy, especially right now with kids being sick. We're not sleeping much anyway, so it's rough right now. But we'll be all right. And Reaction Monday rolls on over the weekend. As you all know from our show on Friday, that I was able to spend my Father's Day at the ballpark at First Horizon Park. Mo, you spent Saturday there. Doug Scopel stopped me and said, "Are y'all just switching off? Like, is that what you're doing here?" And I said, "I mean, sure, it's working out." So, but I got a chance to throw out the first pitch at the ballpark. That was a lot of fun. Actually, technically, I guess I threw the second pitch, Mo, because Charlie was able to throw the first one. We do have some video courtesy of our friend Steve Price of Price's Highway, and he was at the ballpark, sent it to me, and I was very grateful to have that. And we'll get official video from the Nashville Sounds later, but we'll go ahead and take a look at the bird's eye view, Justin. So there you go. That was the first pitch. Just a bit outside to the right-handed hitter, but
Hey, it got there on the fly
we'll take
and was
that.
catchable.
Well, if you miss Booster's glove, which, by the way, is this big, then you got problems.
Yeah, well,
That-
and yet,
That glove was massive. So, anyway, it was a lot of fun, and we will certainly be looking forward to showing that to Charlie one day, because she has no idea how cool it was, but one day she will.
yeah.
And Chandler's going to be very jealous. I got a feeling.
Well, there's only one thing left to do.
Do it again.
There you go.
So, all right. Well, we've got a great show lined up. We've got a ton of stuff to react to here on Reaction Monday, and we're going to do plenty of it. But before we do anything else, we're going to give you the results from the weekend and today's schedule, and we'll do that on the rundown.
This is the Rundown.
The Monday Rundown is brought to you by Zion Christian Academy. ZCA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education in Murray County. Give them a call today at 931-388-5831 or visit zioneagles.org to schedule your appointment today. Zion Christian Academy, prepared for college, equipped for purpose.
Summer baseball action post-19 over at MTSU this weekend. Down G1 Athletics 9-0 and East Cobb Astros 615 10-0 before falling to backs baseball 8-7.
That's short for throwbacks.
Throwbacks, okay. Oh, okay. That makes more sense. I know who they are. I was curious. All right. And also defeated Middle Tennessee Titans 12-0. And then after finishing up pool play, they took on Throwbacks one more time with a chance in the championship game to avenge the loss, but were unable to do so. Throwbacks won post-19-0 in the championship there. Major League Baseball action. It was the Cubs taking 2 of 3 from Baltimore, 10-3, 3-2, and 6-3. Baltimore winning Game 3. The Mets win Game 1 against the Cardinals 6-1, but fall in Games 2 and 3, 5-3, and 8-7.
Braves completed a 4-game sweep of the Colorado Rockies, winning 8-1 on Friday, 10-2 on Saturday, and 14-6 on Sunday. Outscored the Rockies 40-12 in the 4 games.
That's a lot.
I think the Rockies were pretty glad to get out of Atlanta this weekend.
I don't know if they're going to be any happier in Cincinnati, and you'll
They
see
may
why in
not
just
be
a
any
minute.
happier in Cincinnati, but at least it won't be Atlanta. Speaking of Cincinnati, the Reds defeated Houston 2-1, 10-3, and 9-7, the latter in 10 innings, extending their win streak to 8, I believe.
Cincinnati's on a roll.
The Cincinnati is on a roll. Yeah, they can stay up there with that. More brooms.
Break them out.
Milwaukee downs Pittsburgh 5-4, 5-0, and 5-2. The Rays defeated San Diego 6-2 on Friday, but San Diego bounced back. Heard people talking about them apparently. Bounced back with 2-0 and 5-4 victories to wrap that series up. More brooms. The Sounds defeated visiting Gwinnett 5-3 on Friday, 7-4 on Saturday. That's the game I was at. 3-0 on Father's Day. That's the game that Chris was at. And
Thanks to a walk-off home run. 3-run walk-off homer on Sunday.
by Eddie Alvarez,
Eddie Alvarez.
friend of the show.
Yeah, friend of the
Eddie,
show,
there
and
you go.
he skated around the bases, man.
Yeah, things didn't go so well for friend of the show, Justice Sheffield, the day before, unfortunately.
No.
College baseball action out in Omaha. Oral Roberts opened Friday with a 6-5 win over Texas Christian, followed by Florida defeating Virginia 6-5. On Saturday, it was Wake Forest 6, Stanford 2, followed by LSU defeating Tennessee 6-3 in the only game that's been decided by more than a single run to this point. Losers bracket action. Whoa, what are you doing?
I was told the volume was too low.
Well, the buzz is too high.
Yeah.
Okay. Losers bracket action on Sunday. Texas Christian 4, Virginia 3. The Wahoos, the Cavaliers, are back in Charlottesville by now, I would think. Florida with a 5-4 win over Oral Roberts in the winners bracket last night.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. It's
Get
to you.
back to the WNBA here. Washington Mystics 88-69 winners over Phoenix. It was Minnesota 77, Los Angeles 72, and Seattle with a 109-103 win over the Dallas Wings. It was New York Liberty 89, Phoenix Mercury 71. Washington Mystics 77-69 winners over the Chicago Sky, and the Atlanta Dream 100 Fever of Indiana 94. Connecticut defeated LA 83-74, and the Las Vegas Aces are on a tear. 93-62 the win for Becky Hammond and her team.
I think they're doing what was expected of them all
Yes.
year.
Oh, there's no question. Major League Soccer action, Nashville SC. We'll talk more about them here in just a moment with VALAIR SHABILLA. They get the 3-1 win over St. Louis. And in USFL action, we call them by their nicknames, Mo, because not everybody's in their cities. So the Maulers 26, Generals 6, Birmingham Stallions 27, Memphis Showboats 20. It was the Breakers 17, Gamblers 10, and the Panthers. Make sure that for the first time in USFL history, the Stars will not play for a championship as they keep them out of the playoffs 23-20.
Ooh. That's unfortunate.
Right, it's wild.
Major League Baseball today at 3:05, St. Louis plays at the Nationals. At 6:05, it's the Chicago Cubs at PNC Park against the Pirates. As we mentioned earlier, the Rockies are at Cincinnati. That's a 6:10 start. At 7:10, it's the Diamondbacks at Milwaukee. Also at 7:10, the Mets play at Houston. And at 8:45, it's the Padres at San Francisco. College baseball action as we speak. It's Stanford 4, Tennessee nothing in the top of the fourth. Somebody's going home at the end of this one. And at 6 o'clock tonight, it's LSU and Wake Forest. That game can be seen, as can this one, on ESPN. If you're a UT fan, you may not want to, though. So, that is your rundown.
Well, let's keep talking about that because that is today's top story. The College World Series rolls on. Tennessee obviously struggling right now, struggled against Paul Skeens, surprise, surprise. And, you know, nobody's shocked here to see that.
Not really. I mean, I don't think anybody that's been paying attention to college baseball all year would have necessarily been shocked that Tennessee struggled with LSU with Paul Skeens on the mound.
That being said, even that game, because there was some drama a little bit late.
There was drama. There was a pitch called a strike that was not a strike and never was. That kind of dictated some things.
Yeah, runners on first and second with nobody out. It's a big difference between a runner on first with one out. But,
Yep.
you know, that being said, late home run kind of put Tennessee on the board and gave them a little juice, and obviously had an opportunity there, but could not come through.
Yeah.
Outside of that, though, that was the only game over the weekend that did not end in a one-run differential, Mo.
To this point, each of the other games has been a one-run decision, and it's been some really good ball, including last night's Florida Oral Roberts game that had a little drama of its own, as apparently Florida did not realize how many visits they had made to the mound and were forced to make a pitching change that they weren't prepared for. Unfortunately, Oral Roberts was unable to take advantage of that situation, and the Gators won, 5-4?
I think it was 5-4. It was either that or 6-5. But I'm pretty sure it was 5-4.
Yeah. We
now,
just read it.
You and I watched the TCU Oral Roberts ending, and that was pretty crazy. Kind of set the tone for the weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
And you look at Twitter. Was this the best opening weekend in College World Series history?
If it
probably.
wasn't, I don't know what would top it. Again, through 3 days, through 6 games, you've got 5 games that were decided by a run.
Florida Virginia was another really good ball game. Obviously, Wake Forest.
Florida walked that one off, didn't they?
Florida walked that one off. Wake Forest Stanford was a 3-2 decision there.
After Stanford led 2-1 late.
Yeah, Stanford had an opportunity to kind of get out of there with one and couldn't do so, but looks like they're taking.
They seem to be in pretty good shape right now.
Taking it out on Tennessee. But, you got to hope Tennessee can start hitting the ball because they've got to get to the bullpen. That's obviously where they are going to find if they're going to
whatever success they're going to have.
If they're going to have success, they're going to have to find it. I don't expect them to be very competitive against again one of the best pitchers in the game.
Yeah, this Quinn. I lost his last name.
I can't think of his last name.
I was listening to a lot of it on my way in. But
This is a guy who threw 156 pitches or something in that super regional game, and a lot of folks talked about how that was maybe overkill, but obviously these coaches know their kids. They're not going to put them in, especially in a super regional. You're not going to put a kid in a situation that he can't deal with, especially if your aspiration is to win a College World Series. So,
Quinn Matthews, 1T.
It's where my grandmother lives, Matthews, 1T, Alabama. You're going to have to get some hits because they're not going to go to the bullpen otherwise.
No, you've got to put him. You've got to put him in some high leverage situations, and to this point, Tennessee hasn't really been able to do that, and a lot of that's a credit to him. They had first and second and 1 out in like the second or third inning, I think, and he came back with back-to-back strikeouts at the bottom of the order, and so, he's unflappable, it seems. Doesn't let a lot get to him, and with a 4-run lead, there's less that can get to him. So Tennessee's really got its work cut out for it over this last 5 innings if they're going to stick around in Omaha.
We talked before we got to Omaha about TCU and how they were one of the hottest teams in the country coming in. Obviously, had a chance to win the game in that first one against Oral Roberts, but couldn't get the hit to tie it or to take the lead.
Well, I think you saw a hot team run into another hot team.
Yeah, Oral Roberts and again, Oral Roberts was really good to this point and still is. So, but TCU ousting Virginia yesterday was not as surprising as one might have thought, even though Virginia was the 7th national seed.
Yeah, this TCU team, again, they went into Arkansas in the regionals and knocked off the host Razorbacks. They managed to host a super regional by virtue of the fact that Indiana State couldn't. Took the Sycamores down in 2 games to get to Omaha, and they've just kind of continued to ride that momentum that they built up in the postseason. Don't remember what they did in the Big 12 tournament.
They won it.
I'm sure. Well, I was going to say, I'm sure the Kansas State coach could tell us.
Yeah, well, when we were in Murfreesboro for the state baseball tournament or state spring fling tournaments, I actually got a chance to see a little bit of TCU and I think Oklahoma State. And, TCU scored a bunch of runs against somebody in the regional, Arkansas. They scored a bunch of runs.
What,
against
20-5 or something like that?
They did the same thing in that
Big 12?
In that Big 12 tournament game that I was watching. I was like, man, this team puts up runs. And if you can put up runs, obviously pitching most of the time beats hitting. But in the College World Series, you got to score. And this is a team that can hit just about anybody. So, Brian Edgington, who came Connolly Early, who was 12-3 on the year, came into that game yesterday having allowed just 2 earned runs in 13 1/3 in the NCAA tournament. He gave up 2 runs, 1 in the first, 1 in the third, and so they doubled the number of earned runs. That's their ace. Mm-hmm. And so if you're hitting teams' aces, you got a chance to win this thing.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be one of the more entertaining tournaments. I didn't expect Tennessee to do anything but go 2-0, and I think this team overachieved to get here.
Well, and again, we talked about the bottom half of this bracket when we had Ryan McGee on with Wake, LSU, Tennessee, and Stanford, and you knew a good team was going home early.
Yeah, Tennessee was easily the 4th among those 4. Yeah. If you're just look at the fact that all of the other 3 were seeded. And they are not. So, Tennessee did kind of get a rough part of the draw there, but that's just the way it goes. That being said, I still think that the rest of this tournament is going to be a lot of fun to watch, even if you are a Tennessee fan. I think you're going to have fun watching this one play out. So, and there we go. Well, let's take a break. That's your top story, brought to you by Piggly Wiggly and Neely's Mill here in Columbia. Go see them for fresh hand-cut meats and their deli options. We'll be back with VALAIR SHABILLA, Broadway Sports Media, talk a little soccer right after this on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Come back with us to the Lee Company studio. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back into Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yow and Mo Patton here with you on this Reaction Monday. Thank you guys for hanging out with us, and we are looking forward to continuing to bring you plenty of reaction from over the weekend, including in one of the sports, Mo, that we don't really talk about much, mainly because we don't watch a lot of it.
Or don't know a lot about it.
And even if I did watch it, I wouldn't know what was going on.
Right.
And so that's why we bring in the experts here on Main Street Sports.
We don't
today.
know it, but we know people that do know
That's right. And VALAIR SHABILLA is one of those people from Broadway Sports. And VALAIR, welcome in. Thanks for taking some time with us today, man.
Thanks for having me, guys. Glad to be back again for a little bit more education. Happy to teach you all about soccer, but you guys seem to know at least a little bit. So you know, don't sell yourself so short there.
We know just enough to be dangerous, VALAIR. So yeah, we'll throw something out there and let you clean it up. How's that? But,
That works. That works.
So the win over St. Louis over the weekend set a franchise record, 10 straight unbeaten matches. And you have to say unbeaten as opposed to 10 straight wins, because obviously you can have ties in soccer. But what is that record over those last 10, and just how impressive a string are we watching here?
You're watching a very, very good team. You know, when you look at the teams Nashville has faced, they have played against some really good teams, including the St. Louis team that is the best in the West in terms of records. So you're looking at a team where they have won, and not only just gotten those results, which is something that Nashville has done in the last few years, but they're doing it a little bit of style here. They're kind of forcing their system, their way of playing into these games, which is something we're not used to a lot. So they're scoring a lot of goals. They're playing in a way that is exciting, that, you know, you have the league MVP with you, obviously, which really helps with the excitement, right? And then the most important thing in this run is that the wins at home. They've been able to win at home all but one game within that run, which they drew to LAFC, you know, the team that won the championship last year. So when you're looking at those results at home, this is what gets the fans behind you as well, because you're giving them a show at home. Every single person that comes to Geodis Park is guaranteed to see one of the best MLS teams, and most likely the MVP of MLS for a second year in a row now. So it's a really good product out there, and it's not just the wins and getting results, which is very important, of course, but it's doing it in style. That's kind of the new thing that we've seen in this run.
Have not lost an MLS match since falling 2-1 to New York City, and I can't tell what that date was looking at their schedule, but it was back in April. But since then, they tied, they played to a 1-1 draw against LAFC. They defeated San Antonio 1-0 in the U.S. Open Cup. They won in MLS 3-1 over Atlanta, won 3-0 over Chicago, defeated Dallas 2-0 in the U.S. Open Cup. Played to a 1-1 draw against D.C. in MLS, defeated visiting Miami 2-1, went to Charlotte and won 2-1, fell to Miami 2-1 in the U.S. Open Cup, defeated Columbus 3-1, won at Dallas 2-1, got a 1-1 draw against Toronto, and the 3-1 win here recently over St. Louis. Was that Saturday night?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And I think did Hani Mukhtar have a hat trick in that one?
He sure did. That is his fourth career hat trick for Nashville SC. And fun fact, 2 of those came against Chicago. So I don't know what he has against that team, but I don't think
I'd
he
like
likes
to know, I'm sure.
Yeah. They would want to know. But this is his first one this season in terms of hat tricks, of course. He is, I mean, well ahead of pretty much everyone else in this league in terms of goal contributions. He has over 1 goal per match he's played, and that's just on average. And obviously he's leading the team in goals and assists. So I don't know. I was talking to a couple of people at the press box at the match on Saturday, and to Coach Gary Smith. And I think everyone's kind of agreeing that we just ran out of words to describe Hani Mukhtar. It's one of those things where it's just like you expect that from him now. Like he scored a hat trick, and we're just like going on with our days because that's just Hani Mukhtar, and that's what he does.
What he does, right?
Yeah.
That's sensational because he's just too shy of the MLS record at this point for 6 careers. So, I mean, this is a guy who's got some opportunity, and not only did you see a hat trick in front of a sold-out crowd, but kind of a unique situation for Nashville's goalie on Saturday, playing against the hometown team.
Not only the goalkeeper, Joe Willis, who is from St. Louis, but also defender Jack Mayer. He's from the outskirts of Southern Illinois, so St. Louis is kind of one of those cities
Same
for
thing.
him. He actually played for the St. Louis, or at least was signed for the St. Louis USL affiliate, Jack Mayer, back in the day. St. Louis City, sorry, they were not called City. They were St. Louis FC or SC, one of the two. That was their USL team back in the day. So he's very known around the St. Louis area. And like you said, Joe Willis, of course, kind of playing against his home team. This is St. Louis's first year, so this hasn't been something that these players have experienced before, even with somebody like Joe Willis with, he's 35, 34, so he's played a lot of MLS minutes and played for multiple teams in MLS, but this is the first time he's ever played against a hometown team, so I'm sure that was special for him. But St. Louis came in as they are obviously an expansion team, and this is their first match against Nashville, but they've come into this league and they've shattered all expectations. They have I don't want to say overperformed, but it's one of those things where I don't think anyone, even St. Louis fans, St. Louis players, or coach staff, or anybody, had them be as good as they are. So for Joe Willis, obviously that was special. But one thing we've seen also from Hani Mukhtar, I don't know why we're going back to him because, you kind of talk about him. But one thing we've seen from Hani Mukhtar is that he shows up in these big games. So this game was kind of played out as, the best in the West, playing against Nashville SC. And he loves those storylines. He loves being part of that story. And so while Joe Willis had his own story against his hometown club, Hani Mukhtar had his own to show up in these big matches and kind of prove himself the MVP. And for this Nashville team as a whole, with some missing pieces, including big one, Walker Zimmerman, of course, still showing up and playing against the best team in the West and not only beating them, but completely dominating that match.
VALAIR SHABILLA here with us on Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. And VALAIR, we talked to you early in this season about how Nashville was struggling on its home pitch. Now they've obviously found their groove somewhat. What can be attributed to that change?
The biggest thing is tactically. Tactically, Gary Smith changed his formation. So usually what Nashville would do is have 2 wingers, a striker that's big, tall, physical guy, and behind them they would have Hani Mukhtar, right, kind of facilitating the play. Well, once that wasn't working, I give a lot of credit. I give a ton of credit to Gary Smith for not only seeing that isn't working, but kind of doing something about it. And what he started doing is playing this formation called 4-3-3 diamond or a 4-4-2 diamond or whatever sort of, name you can give it. But essentially what that does is that instead of having those 2 wingers on the sides, they kind of become narrower and they get more narrow, and they have Hani Mukhtar playing in a more free role than he was already playing in a free role, but this kind of gives him a little bit more freedom to come back and track back and be part of the midfield as well as part of the attack. So instead of having as one striker, now you have 2 strikers, but you don't have the wing. And what you do for those sides is you use your right back and left back, who are defenders, but you have them kind of streak through each lane there on the right side and left side to kind of provide those crosses. But essentially what that formation did is that it gave Nashville an option to play with the ball, which is something they've never really done. when you have the league MVP, he wants to play with the ball, he wants to have the ball, and he wants to distribute that ball. With Nashville, for the most part, what they were doing is just play on the counter. Wait for the other team to come and attack. As soon as that other team loses the ball, Nashville goes and hits them while they are kind of unbalanced, right? Well, now Nashville still has that option. Obviously, they didn't lose that option. But what this formation gives them is the opportunity to do something without having the other team make a mistake. This is something you can build on from the back forward. And we've seen a lot more plays from the midfield to where there's passing sequences. On Saturday, we saw a beautiful goal, that third goal. Hani Mukhtar starts the ball. He drops deep in midfield, gives the ball to, I can't remember the player, who passes it to Dax McCarty, who passes back to Hani Mukhtar to score the goal. That doesn't happen if that formation is not in effect, because there's a lot of players in midfield there and you can kind of pass it around. That's not a goal that we've seen Nashville score before this run. It's kind of a new thing for them. And if anything, it is very, very entertaining, and it is definitely effective in terms of results. So I think if you ask any Nashville fan, they prefer this way of playing than anything we've seen from them before.
Someone should tell the hockey team that it's better to play with the object of the game. I'm just saying they should tell the hockey team.
So what you're saying basically is Nashville is dictating more now.
Yes.
Rather than they're being proactive rather than reactive.
There you go.
Absolutely, yeah, and that possession percentages is one of the ways we measure this in soccer. So Nashville's possessions numbers have gone up every game since this run kind of started. Now, possession is not everything. Just because you have the ball doesn't mean you're playing well. It just means that you have the ball. But Nashville's taking that possession and doing something with it. Now, don't get me wrong, Nashville is not one of those teams that's just going to always want the ball and always, going to have 60% or 55% possession. That's not where they are, and they should not. That's not necessarily a good thing. That just means it's a stylistic difference. But what that means is that it took Nashville from those 35% possession to maybe 45%. And that has created this new sort of wave where they're scoring 3 goals every other game at this point, So it's really effective.
You can't argue with the results. Nashville sitting at 10 wins, 5 draws, and 3 losses to this point. Second in MLS behind FC Cincinnati at 12-4-1. So, again, you got to like the way it's working out.
Yeah. And you spoke about Cincinnati there. They are pretty much, the only team outperforming Nashville at this point. But with Cincinnati, it's a little different. They are more defensive. Their attack has gone through some changes. So the underlying numbers are saying that Cincinnati is going to kind of flat out a little bit coming into the summer, while the underlying numbers for Nashville seem to have them kind of continue on this form. So we'll see what happens. Those numbers don't always tell us anything. As you know, the game is played on the field. But I am curious to see if Cincinnati can keep up with that, even when their numbers are not necessarily saying that they're going to be this good.
And those two on a collision course with each other, July 15th in Cincinnati. It'll be a 6:30 start, and you can see that one on Apple TV. But obviously, Nashville SC's got some work to do between now and then, but that is a date that I imagine a lot of fans are kind of looking forward to.
Absolutely. First and foremost, Cincinnati was the original rival to Nashville back in the day when they were both in the USL. Cincinnati and Nashville was the rivalry at the time. There was a lot of back and forth between the fan bases. It was the closest sort of drive that you can make. And if you ask any fan of Nashville who has been there since the USL days, they will still list Cincinnati as their number one rival when it comes to MLS, even with Atlanta, of course, and others around. I think there's a lot there from a history perspective, but just if you look at it this season, if Cincinnati drops a couple points here and there, Nashville picks up those points, that game might be the decider between, Nashville tying them in points or going above them in points, which would be something that would obviously be a big deal. I think it's a big deal for the league as a whole to have that sort of competition in the Eastern Conference. So I think it's gonna be promoted pretty highly. That match is gonna be one of those sort of big deals that that the league and Apple TV might push forward as well.
Valair, that's great stuff about Nashville SC. Before we let you go, I want to mention, if you Google CONCACAF Nations League and you are in the United States, then you get fireworks on your Google machine, because the U.S. men's national team last night did win the Nations League title over Canada with a 2-0 victory. Is this what's expected of this team?
That's a very good question, because simply because of the coaching changes, I would say no. So Greg Berhalter leaves the USMNT. They have an assistant take over. That assistant leaves. Another assistant takes over. And now he's leaving, of course, for Greg Berhalter to come back eventually. So just because of that, I would say it wasn't necessarily expected of them to win the CONCACAF Champions League. But in itself, the CONCACAF Champions League, I kept saying Champions League, CONCACAF Nations League is a competition that's meant to fine-tune your roster. And it was kind of put in as a replacement for the friendlies that would happen during this time, to kind of give a little bit more competition to it. So the Gold Cup is coming up. That's maybe a little bit of a bigger deal for the USMNT, and we'll see what they're going to do there. But this is such a good start for them, because if you just look at the competition they played against, not even the whole sort of CONCACAF Nations League, but if you just look at playing Mexico and Canada, who are the other two teams that kind of are dominating this region, 3-0 against Mexico, 2-0 against Canada, not even conceding a single goal, and playing in a really, really expansive style. I think it's kind of above and beyond what a lot of USMNT fans thought, but it's definitely where the potential of this group can go, and where a lot of people see this group of players, because of how young they are and hungry they are. That's where people see them going, and that should be the norm going forward. That's definitely the expectation.
Well, big win for the USMNT, and obviously the Gold Cup is coming up, so that'll be fun to watch as well, and we will continue to keep our eyes on that and this Nashville SC team, who, again, absolutely surging right now, and hopefully that trend continues. VALAIR SHABILLA with us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. VALAIR, thanks for taking some time with us today, and we look forward to talking a little soccer with you in the future.
Thanks, y'all. Appreciate you having me again, and always happy to come back and talk some soccer.
Thank you, Valair.
All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, it's Braves Chatter here on Reaction Monday, and a great reaction it will be. So we'll stick around. We'll be right back. Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think about calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that can happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone.
Tired of hanging lights every year? We get it. That's why Southern Nights is here to help. We install programmable lighting on your home or business so you can enjoy beautiful, customizable lighting all year round. No more ladders, tangled lights, or cold nights outside. We do the work, you do the celebrating. Call Southern Nights today and take the hassle out of holiday lighting forever. For a free quote, give us a call at 931-241-3074 or visit our Facebook page at Southern Nights.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd, the goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Experience Predators hockey all season long. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets and join the Loyal Legion today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets, and we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
Music City will be rocking June 23rd through the 25th with a different sound. The sound of NASCAR. The Ally 400 is back at Nashville Superspeedway, and this year, it's a night race. NASCAR in Nashville. It's guitars and fast cars under the lights. Visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com to get your tickets today for the triple header weekend.
June 19th, 1942, Big Poison, Boston outfielder Paul Wainer singled off Pittsburgh starter and former teammate Rip Sewell for his 3,000th hit in an eventual 7-6 11-inning loss to the visiting Pirates. The 39-year-old Wainer became the seventh major leaguer to reach the 3,000 hit milestone and the first in 17 years. That was this day in Braves history.
Who was the last person to hit 3,000? A-Rod? Jeter? Cabrera? Yeah, Cabrera. That was, what, 2 years ago? Last year?
Last year, I
That's
think.
right. Who was it? Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. We interrupt this Braves segment to tell you that Tennessee has knocked Quinn Matthews out of the game. It is a 4-4 game with the bases loaded, 2 outs in the top of the 5th. So, they hurt us.
They did, in fact. You can kind of knock him out, and they have indeed. So, Tennessee not done yet.
Not done yet. And Tennessee nothing if not dramatic.
There is that.
So, yeah.
All right, that's good information to have. Good information to have. Mo, obviously, this weekend was a positive one for Atlanta Braves fans.
Not dramatic.
Not very little.
Very little drama.
Outside of maybe, the first inning yesterday.
First couple of innings.
That's about
when
it.
Charlie Morton is your shakiest starter,
Yeah.
his last couple have not been, he's won them both.
Well,
But-
that's because he gets a decision every time he goes out, no matter what.
And he gets a decision, and this offense has been outstanding. Again, they scored 40 runs in 4 games this weekend against Colorado. Their average margin of victory was 7 runs.
That's insane.
It really is.
And this is obviously what a great performance by this offense all weekend long, and did it all while Ronald Acuna Jr. got about 3 pitches to hit in 3 days.
I think he hit them, though.
He hit 2 of the 3.
Yeah, I think he had 2 hits in the 4-game series, but he did walk
A bunch.
3 times, I know, and
5.
scored 5?
At least 5.
Did he score?
And he scored a bunch of runs.
Yeah, so, which is what your leadoff guy is supposed to do. So,
Look, that.
get on base and score.
Well, if they're not going to give you anything to hit, and you're up
Don't
there
swing at it.
you're doing your best to, swing at the one good pitch you see per at bat,
Mm-hmm.
do what you got to do. But obviously, people are not going to pitch to Ronald if they can help it.
And
but
why
when
would you?
But when you've got everybody else in the lineup is also hitting, what's the
Everybody except
difference?
Riley.
Well, yeah, Riley struggled, but honestly, at this point, somebody's got to. You can't have all 9 hitting it.
Yeah, but again, your favorite manager, I think, is showing his stubbornness once again. the numbers when Riley is in the 4-hole and the numbers when Riley is anywhere else are stark. And yet, he continues to insist on batting him in the number 3 hole. Which, to his credit, he finally came around on Olsen.
Well, and
maybe here in another 6 weeks he'll come around on Riley.
So that's what I was going to say is, he shook it up a little bit with Olsen, doing exactly what I said to do, and that's swap he and Albies, and it's worked out really well. So hopefully, if things keep going this way, my assumption is that he's going to find he's going to find his way to that 4 hole. But now with Sean Murphy out, it may be a little bit easier to put him in the 4 hole.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what this lineup looks like when they go to Philadelphia starting tomorrow. But I don't think Sean Murphy is going to be out long. I'm encouraged by the fact that he has not been placed on the injured list. That they did bring up Chadwick Tromp to give them another option at catcher, but they did not put Murphy on the IL. Excuse me, after sustaining that hamstring injury when Saturday?
Yes, it was Saturday. Yeah, because Sunday is when
changes were made.
Changes were made, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately, that was tough, man.
Poor Charlie.
Well, poor Mr. Culberson.
Yeah.
If you've not heard, to make room on the active roster for Chadwick Tromp, Charlie Culberson was designated for assignment yesterday. Charlie Culberson, whose father was slated to throw out the first pitch prior to yesterday's Father's Day game. So, no Charlie's dad. It's unfortunate. But instead, Michael Harris won throughout the first pitch. And Michael Harris, too, responded with a 5-for-5 day.
Rumor has it that his dad told him just, every time you see a pitch, just imagine it's the one I'm throwing you now. And apparently.
Well, did you see the pitch he threw?
That was a pretty good pitch.
It was a pretty good pitch. Yeah. It's better than yours.
Yeah, well, that wouldn't take much.
Yeah.
But, I mean, clearly he's used to absolutely rocking dad for BP.
Apparently, I mean, it was a strike low and away to a left-handed hitter, but I mean, it had a little something on it. I was impressed.
I'm telling you, it was cool to watch Michael be able to follow that up with 5 hits, and
including a tape measure home. Where I don't know if they're tape measure home runs anymore. The way Atlanta's hitting them, I don't even know if they're bothering.
No, if it's not more than 470, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Braves have like 3 times as many 450 plus homers than anybody else in the.
I think the Rockies and
league.
The Angels are tied for second with 5. I think the Braves have 16.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
So they're hitting the cover off the baseball, and whoever's catching it is catching a coverless baseball because it's on the other side of the fence, and it's pretty crazy. I'll tell you, this weekend is one of those things that will get you too excited. But as we mentioned, June is the Braves month. Now here's the bad part: as good as the Braves have been, so have the Marlins, so have the Phillies, and you've put no distance between yourself and second place Miami right now. Yes, it's at 5 games, and it was 3.5, but that's
you've not extended.
That's a game and a half when you've won 12 of 15. That's rough.
That's tough. That's tough.
And now you've got to go to Philadelphia, and one of the best lineups in all of baseball. I mean, these two may be the 2 best lineups in baseball. And Spencer Strider has struggled. Mm-hmm. He'll get the ball tomorrow night, so it's,
I think Spencer Strider long term and short term, has a lot to prove tomorrow night because his last 2 or 3 starts have not been great, and his last start against Philadelphia was not great. And I'm interested to see what you're going to see out of him. I don't really have a feel for what you're going to see out of him because, does he try to do too much? Does he channel it? What happens? But I think this is a pivotal start, really, for Spencer Strider tomorrow night.
This is a completely out there subject, but let me just ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's run down Braves starting pitchers next year who will be available for the roster next year. Max Fried, Bryce Elder, Spencer Strider, Kyle Wright, Ian Anderson, Michael Soroka. Who else?
Charlie Morton.
Well, he's on a 1-year deal.
Is he?
But I assume that they'll pay him $20 more million if he wants to come back.
Either he comes back or he retires.
Yeah. So could be Charlie, but I've got the 6 those right there. You've got there's
Schuster?
Jared Schuster, who's pitching really well. Potentially Dylan Dodd if he gets any better. I mean but that's 8.
Mm-hmm.
And did I say Spencer Strider? Okay. That's 8 pitchers. You got to do something with them. If Strider doesn't become what he was last year, do you put him in a closer role? Because you just got too many starting pitchers.
You have to look at him in the bullpen because, as much as I hate to admit it, because a number of people said it on Twitter, his stuff, I don't know that his stuff necessarily plays better in the bullpen, but I think his stuff as his pitching repertoire is currently constructed, it plays pretty well out of the pen.
Specifically in a closer role. You're talking triple
two-pitch pitcher.
Triple digits and
that slider.
And then that slider. And what more do you need?
And apparently he has had trouble, figuring out just how hard to go. You take that out of the equation
you're
with
taking,
him coming out of the pen.
Give me 3 hitters.
You just go wide open for as long as you can go. And however long that is, we shouldn't need it, actually. So
I just feel like when you have those options.
Yeah. I mean, how is the team best served when you have that many starter options? Ian Anderson is a stretch because he was inconsistent when he was healthy, and now he's not healthy.
Well, outside of that playoff run where he was as good as anybody we've ever seen, but that's the same could be said for Eddie Rosario, who's turned it around, and a lot of these position players who have found their way.
Oh, sure.
So, and again, it's a big if because I don't know that Dylan Dodd and Jared Schuster are full-time starters either. I don't know that Charlie Morton comes back. You don't know what else. You don't know if Max Fried is going to be if he's going to leave in free agency after next season.
Well, it's after next season.
Right, but, I mean, do you want to send Strider to the bullpen if you don't feel like you're going to have Max Fried in your rotation? Do you not just want to keep him stretched out as a starter for the future, right?
I think you can stretch him out from one year to the next.
Potentially.
Yeah.
But, but that's a decision you've got to make because what do you do in the closer role? Do you have to go get one at that point? Do you have to make somebody else a closer? There's just a lot that goes in. So, it really – there's a lot of options there, but I think that, like you said, it's a good problem to have.
Oh, absolutely.
Nothing tonight because Atlanta is off, but plenty of Major League Baseball, by the way, to be played. We rattled off quite a few in the rundown. So if you're looking for baseball tomorrow night, I'm not sure if TBS is the sole provider of the game.
I hope not,
but I hope they are, because I don't have Bally. I always hope it's TBS or someone else nationally, but I have to jump through a lot of hoops to watch the Braves if they're not on national TV. So we'll see. Anyway, still 4-4. Did not take advantage of the bases loaded situation.
Two outs, so.
But yeah, that's how it goes sometimes. So we'll take a break. When we come back, we've got rapid fire reaction, and so we will get to all of the topics that we can possibly get to in the next 30 minutes right here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Y'all stick around. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Welcome back to Today's Better Health. I'm Colleen Barton, and I'm here with Dr. Gil Kentoff and Dr. Wendy Toohey, and we're talking about the latest treatments in back and neck pain.
Many people, Colleen, come to see us with neck and back pain, and they develop tingling and numbness down the arm or lower back pain that develops into sciatica shooting down their leg. And for these patients, we have an advanced treatment technology, non-surgical decompression therapy that we really introduced to this area. It separates the vertebrae and creates a suction to allow fluids and nutrients back in to heal the disc naturally, relieving pressure on the nerve and on the joint. It's an amazing treatment.
We've been helping patients like this for the last 30 years, helping them get back to work, get back to their family, get back to the life they want to live.
I mean, it really is amazing. Technology helping us to live pain-free and better lives.
Right.
And I bet you have a special offer.
The first 25 callers will receive an examination, x-rays, review of our findings, and their first treatment, all for $39.
Call 615-551-3897 today to receive this special offer.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back into Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yow and Mo Patton here with you on this Reaction Monday. We have plenty to react to and a laundry list of things to get into. So we will do that now, and we'll talk first, Mo, about a story you have on MainStreetPreps.com as former Tighten Up behind you flag there, safety. The other, yeah, there it is, Tighten Up. Blaine Bishop has joined the staff at Independence High School as a volunteer coach. You had a chance to talk with Scott Stidham, and seems like this is going to be an interesting addition for the Eagles.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, any time. And, you know, I didn't want to start getting into listing former Titans that are coaching in high school programs across Middle Tennessee because the list is long and surely I would have missed someone. But obviously the influx, you know, that team coming in here 3 decades ago now, and former players and folks who have been associated with that franchise, you know, getting into coaching in the area. I mean, again, Kevin Mawai is now the head coach at Lipscomb Academy, you know, different situations like that. But when you have an opportunity to put somebody in front of your kids with that type of knowledge that has played at, you know, the highest level of the game, it's always a plus, I would think. And you know, when I initially approached Scott, he's like, we've got 5 new coaches, and I'm like, and that's awesome. That's fantastic. I'm glad you've got 5 new coaches. One of them, kind of, no disrespect to any of the others, but only one of them is a former All-Pro.
Yeah.
So, you know, and the thing about Blaine, man, if you spend any time around him, is his enthusiasm is kind of infectious, man. I just think it kind of rubs off. And I think kids really enjoy and appreciate that. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun on the Indy sidelines, you know, through the weekend on Friday nights.
Now, no disrespect to former Bethel assistant Cody McAllister, right?
Exactly.
But it's pretty interesting because, you know, there are, and when you asked me this question, I was very confused as to why you cared about the Orlando Predators. But as I read the story earlier, I thought, okay, well, it makes a lot of sense because he's not the only person with some pro experience on that sideline. And
yeah, well, I didn't realize. Now, I did know that Jeff Parker was there. Jeff Parker came while Scott Blade was there. You know, Jeff Parker, who also finished out one basketball season as boys basketball coach 2 or 3 years ago as well. But Jeff Parker, who at one time was offensive coordinator at Tennessee State, when he left that program, he stayed in the area and eventually wound up at Independence. But Parker played a year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after he finished up his collegiate career at Bethune-Cookman, where he's a Hall of Famer. And after that, he played, I think, 4 years with the Orlando Predators of the Arena Football League. So, and then did not realize Dexter McCluster, former Ole Miss running back, was on Stidham's staff last year as well. So,
it's a heck of a staff.
Well, and again, you've got so many ex-Titans spread around here that if you don't know them, you might not know them. They're everywhere.
Yeah, it's not like, you know, and it's not like you can just look at a guy on the sideline and be like, oh yeah, he's that guy. He's a, you know, because the fact is that Middle Tennessee has become kind of a place for former athletes to enjoy the rest of their lives.
Or current athletes to enjoy their lives. As we spoke to Justice Sheffield the other day about, you know, why Nashville is becoming a landing spot for so many current athletes as well as former athletes. So, yeah, they're everywhere. So, but, yeah, I think that's a great addition for Independence, a great addition for Scott Stidham and for those kids up there.
No question. So now, have you spoken with Blaine about this? Have you had a chance to talk to Blaine?
Yeah.
About this. So what was the deal? Why Independence? I mean, obviously Chase played there.
Mm-hmm. Chase finished up his career there after transferring there from Brentwood, but he said he lives close, and apparently Dexter reached out to him and kind of made that connection. But he mentioned that it's pretty convenient for him because he lives close.
Well,
and when he's trying to get somewhere after his show, because he and Mickey Ryan are still on, I guess they probably just went off actually on 104.5.
They go off at 3 probably.
Yeah. So when he's talking about, someplace he can get to fairly quickly once he gets off the air, Indy kind of fits in that wheelhouse.
Joey, before we get into that next subject, Joey Votto held a press conference at 3:00 today.
I'm sorry?
Joey Votto.
Oh, yeah?
Held a press conference earlier today, and I guess they just held a press conference to say he's back.
Good.
-30 dash.
Yeah.
And so it's good for them, but why in the world are you holding a press conference just to say Votto's back? I mean, it's good. It's cool.
It's a big deal, I guess.
I guess, but a lot of folks were worried. A lot of folks on Red's Twitter were like, what is he about to say?
Well, it's not typical that you hold a press conference to say you're back. Usually you hold a press conference to say you're leaving.
Right.
Unless you're Peyton Manning at the University of Tennessee.
Or Michael Jordan in 1996. So, all right. We did not talk about this. Mo, we mentioned this as we were going off the air on Friday. And said
they call that a tease.
And said we would talk about it today. So now
it's
the
today.
chickens have come home to roost as we have to talk about. San Diego State has informed the Mountain West Conference that they will not be continuing their conference affiliation whenever it may be convenient for them to leave. We're going to leave. We just don't know when. So can you hold our spot for just a little bit, please?
It feels like telling your significant other, I'm leaving, but I ain't got no apartment yet. So
we're going to
stick around. But
good thing we got a separate bedroom kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's awkward. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Now, is it the Pac-12? Is it the Big East? Where are they going?
I don't know. It's gotta be. It's gotta be the Pac-12. One would think. But Mo, there are rumors out there that UConn is telling football recruits they're going to be in the Big 12 too. Could you imagine? It's the same thing as the Big 10. UConn, San Diego State, Rutgers, UCLA.
I just don't know that UConn wants that.
Apparently they do, because they're telling folks they're going. Oh yeah, they think they do. Yeah, that's exactly right. They think they do, but they don't.
They don't want that.
And here's the thing, and this is my biggest concern is where does Conference USA go? Because if you don't think that UTEP and New Mexico State are on the horn with the Mountain West saying, "Hey, we'd like to talk to you guys if that's okay. If you guys are looking, we heard there might be an opening."
Rumor has it.
And so if that's the case, what happens to Conference USA? We know Kennesaw State is coming in next year. But is Austin Peay the next? They were at least considering the move over the last year. We talked about that. But, does it make sense for them to do that? Does it make sense for anybody else in the area to be a member of Conference USA?
I'm not even sure if making sense is a priority.
Because here's the problem now. Conference USA doesn't have anybody to poach from because they are the bottom of the barrel.
They are the poachees, not
from
the poachers.
here on out, they are. I mean, it's not like, when the AAC poached Memphis and Cincinnati, you kind of got the feeling that the writing was on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not looking good for Conference USA.
No.
I'm going to make a prediction that it's the Pac-12. But, man.
For San Diego State?
Yeah.
It just feels like the most sensible move. But again, like I said, I'm not sure how much sensibility plays into it at this point.
Sensibility. We've made the determination that common sense and college football don't go together anymore, right?
No, you can't use those phrases together.
So, staying in college football, Nick Saban had some words to say about the process of the college football playoff and how teams were selected, saying that when he saw that Alabama would have been favored over 3 of the 4 teams in the college football playoff, he was a little concerned over, how those teams were chosen. And to that I say, who cares? We only have one more year of a 4-team playoff. But, I mean, is Nick Saban whining too much these days?
I think it depends on who you ask. I think there is certainly a faction out there that feels like Nick Saban is whining too much. I think there's also some merit to some of the things that you've said in regards to Nick Saban, in that sometimes when he's whining, he's warning. and I think that kind of needs to be taken under consideration. I think, as you said, I think this is a dead horse that he's beaten here, just from the standpoint that we're going 12 teams. So, I mean, why are we worried about it? About the selection process for the 4-team playoff that's only, what, 1 more year, 2 more years?
1 more year.
1 more year. So unless he's afraid he's going to get left out this year.
Still, I don't think there's no warning
I'm
here.
not sure they're going to be good enough to be considered this year. Just because I think they've got too many questions at quarterback.
They got a lot of questions, and it's not just at quarterback. Jameer Gibbs is gone at running back. They didn't have a wide receiver to speak of last year.
Mm-hmm.
Defense is kind of relatively not as good. Mm-hmm. I mean, Alabama's got a lot of problems, which typically is when Alabama turns out its best teams, but when the expectations aren't as high. I don't think this is a warning type situation. I definitely think that in this particular situation, it's a little bit of whining, and that's okay. He's earned the right to whine a little bit, so I'm not gonna yell at
objectively
Nick Saban.
Speaking.
Yeah, for a
now,
whole lot.
we may be the only 2 objective people about Southeastern Conference football.
There aren't many
in Southeastern Conference football.
I think my biggest thing about Nick Saban is this feels like this kind of thing a 70-year-old guy who doesn't want to stick around much longer would say.
So he's kind of setting the stage for his.
I think there's some undertone here, not necessarily that, maybe some. Let me build some excuses over the next year or so that I can just be like, look, college football ain't college football the way that I'm used to. I'm getting, it's getting to be a whole lot. It's a year-round thing, and because he just made the comment the other day about how many weeks out of the year they work, and it was like 47 of the 52.
Who gets more than 5 weeks off, Nick?
Well, yeah.
Who else getting 5 weeks of vacation?
Yeah, and look, I get that, but and they put in a lot of work when they are working, and I don't think they get any days off during those weeks. And I think that was his thing was, we don't get Saturday off, we don't get Sunday off, we don't get Monday off. We're working 7 days a week of those 47. So
and being compensated pretty dang well to do it.
But at 70, and I think that's what I'm saying.
Okay, and all of that leads me to this point. Why does Nick Saban need an excuse?
He doesn't.
He wants to go to the house. Go to the house.
Right. I definitely think that there's a little bit of potential that could be that what he's trying to set up here. Please don't come at me and say I'm saying Nick Saban's done, or that that the dynasty's over. Well, the dynasty's over. I mean, it is what it is.
I don't think we have to say that. I think Kirby Smart has said that. I think David Pollock said that.
Look, Alabama's still one of the best 5 teams in the country year in and year out, but dynasty means something a little
Doesn't
bit
mean
different.
5.
Yeah, it means 1 and 2. So I think that's just part of it. We'll stay in Alabama. Montana Fouts was named Softball America's Pitcher of the Year. And my question to you, Mo, is how insane is that? And is it a career achievement award for this? Because let's just say the quote tweets are not favorable to Softball America.
And that's unfortunate. But I mean, it's
Is it unfortunate, though? It says pitcher of the year, not pitcher of the last 4 years.
Well, I mean, you hate to see people come at a kid.
I have thoughts, but
You do have thoughts.
We'll keep those.
You have skin in the game. You have personal involvement, and I think sometimes you have to. I think you have to be able to step back and be objective and be professional about things.
But
I don't know that she's deserving, but I don't know that she's not.
Well, let's just run through some of the numbers. In the country, she's 21st in the country in ERA, 20th in hits per game, 6th in Ks to walk, 11th in Ks per game, 41st in walks per 7,
But she's top 5 in name recognition.
Oh, she's if not number 1.
And that comes back to your, career achievement award.
But
and
Jordy Ball, not pitcher of the year, pretty tough. You're going to have Ashley Rogers was SEC pitcher of the year, by the way, where Montana Fouts happens to play and beat her twice. Actually, no, didn't beat her twice. Beat her once because they didn't pitch Ashley against her in the other.
They pitched Peyton.
Yeah. So I get it. I get it, but I also don't. And I guess that's my issue here is that, look, Montana Fouts is a great pitcher. She posted a 1.49 ERA. That's pretty dadgum good. She won 100 games at Alabama during her career.
But it's pitcher of the year, as you said.
It's pitcher of the year. And that's the issue that she ranks 2nd in program history in strikeouts with nearly 1,200, 3rd in shutouts at 35, 4th in wins, complete games with 89, and 5th in ERA, career ERA of 1.66. That's phenomenal, and it's absolutely worth a career achievement award, and they ought to put 14 in the rafters somewhere. But she's not the pitcher of the year. And somebody who deserved the award more
didn't get it.
Didn't get it because of that. And that's unfortunate for me. That's just where I'm at. Now, it is what it is. We'll go to college basketball now. One of the biggest stories over the weekend, if not the biggest off the field story. Bob Huggins arrested for DUI in Pittsburgh, of course, because rivalries never die. Period.
The backyard brawl.
The backyard brawl is
claims Bob Huggins.
Clearly. And, obviously after his other issue this offseason, there was no way that West Virginia and Bob Huggins could be one and the same this coming basketball season. And the unfortunate part for West Virginia is it's June. You play basketball in 4 months.
And they've got apparently one of the top recruiting classes, or they got a bunch of really nice pieces out of the transfer portal. I mean, they've got a really nice team coming back, it sounds like. And, he had put that together, and now it's going to be up to somebody else to make it do what it do.
It won't be Andy Kennedy. Not going down that road again.
Once was enough.
That's how you get screwed. So, West Virginia, man, this is tough for them because Bob Huggins had really kind of, built his niche there, and in one of the toughest basketball conferences, if not the toughest basketball conference in the country, in the Big 12. It's hard to win at West Virginia consistently, and he's done it. I don't know how you follow that up without really putting some mucho dinero behind it.
Yeah, and he's from West Virginia.
Yes.
Is he from the University of West Virginia?
Did he go to West Virginia? I don't know if he is a West Virginia grad. Yeah, he is a West Virginia grad.
Man, that's tough.
That is tough.
Because, I don't know who you get to come in who's going to be as invested as he was.
It's going to make it tough. West Virginia's going to have some really some really tough decisions to make here, and I almost feel like you have to just go interim at this point.
Yeah. Just to give yourself time to really work through the situation, I guess.
So that is a situation right there. There's no question. Memphis, meanwhile, in a situation of its own, as they lose their 11th player from last year's team to the transfer portal or to graduation.
11.
Is Penny the problem?
One, it depends on who you ask. Two, if he is, good luck getting school officials to admit it.
Yeah, you're not going to.
Because there are still enough people around that remember how Penny got there and who he replaced.
I don't think, Mo, and I could be wrong because I don't know this situation as well as obviously our friends out in Bluff City do. I don't feel like this is a Deion Sanders-like situation where he's bringing.
I don't think he brought his Louis Vuitton in.
Louis or anybody else's Louis. Yeah. I don't think this is we're upgrading the roster type situation.
No, I don't think he's clearing the decks. I think this is just a number of folks have found it to be a situation that they didn't want to be a part of for whatever reason.
Is this the beginning of the end of the Penny Hardaway experiment?
Well, again, somebody's got to admit that it's not working for that to be the case.
Or, we don't know that it's not working yet. Remember that. This is a guy who, yes, Memphis lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament, but they lost to Florida Atlantic and should not have.
Yeah.
So he's going to have to be worse than that I would think. Anyway, that's rapid fire reaction. We got through all the topics, Most. First time we've ever gotten through all of our topics, but we had 30 minutes to do so, and we have 20 seconds to get out of here. So we will see you guys tomorrow. This has been a production of Main Street Media TV. And at 2 o'clock tomorrow, Mo and Chris back at you right here on Main Street Sports Today.